What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Mary Oliver's famous quote is the crux of this episode. What if it is not too late to follow your dreams? Dr. Karen Fromhold is a family practice physician in Vermont. She's a Peace Corps volunteer, a mother, and a wife. She went to medical school later in life and has been in practice for over a decade. Over the last 4 years, she has joined me for 4 retreats. On July 1st, a little over a week ago, in her late 50s, she quit her job, where she had been for a decade, and felt that she had outgrown. She took a significant pay cut and started a 1-year fellowship in hospice and palliative medicine at the University of Vermont Medical Center. Today, she joins me on the Healing Medicine podcast to share her story about following her dreams and fully living into her one wild and precious life. If you've been carrying an idea for years and haven't let yourself act on it, if you think it's too late to change course, or you need permission to invest in yourself and take the leap, stay on for this awesome episode. Thanks for joining us today at the Healing Medicine podcast. Who are you listening to? I am Dr. Jessie Mahoney, and my co-host is Dr. Ni-Cheng Liang. We are 2 board-certified physicians who bring decades of experience to the conversation about wellness. If you crave more ease and aspire to rediscover your love for medicine and life, one mindful step at a time, you are in the right place. We hope you'll love today's episode, and if so, please share it. A reminder that nothing in our podcast is medical advice. All right. So, Karen, welcome to the podcast. We're going to jump right into our conversation. And Karen and I first met in 2022, so 4 years ago, around this time. And she came to a Sagrada retreat, and then she came back for another Sagrada retreat in 2023. And she's come to Nicasio Creek Farm twice as well in 2024 and 2026, 2025 and 2026, I think.
Yes.
And she's just an amazing human doing amazing things. And I'm lucky to know her. We've had such a fun back and forth relationship. And she has made this incredible transition in the last 10 days. And so we are going to talk today about how it came about and what it's like to go back to fellowship in your late 50s and how you made the decision and how it's all sort of come together. So Karen, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
So tell folks listening just a little bit about who you are, where you are in the world, and a bit about, maybe we'll just dive right in. How did you come to be doing a fellowship as of July 1st at this point in your life?
Well, so I'm in Vermont, so I'm a family medicine doc. I didn't do med school in a traditional time. I went back in my mid-30s after not taking any sciences the first round through, and decided this is, I worked with a career coach and decided this is what I wanted to do. So I came back and moved up here to Burlington, Vermont, and took all my prereqs and went to med school and to residency here. And this was, I had the opportunity to work at a hospice facility where here in Vermont the year before I went to medical school. So that really planted a really strong seed. And I pursued lots of different learning opportunities all through med school and through residency. And this was always what I wanted to do. So I'm in a hospice and palliative medicine fellowship, right? So I should just say that. And so this was sort of always on my, sort of my plan. And then when I finished, I was kind of tired after all that training. So I decided to start off with a primary care job, and then life kind of took off, and bought a house and adopted a child, and life got busy, and there wasn't a fellowship here locally. So I wasn't really interested in moving. So, and then I still had my interest in this area. So an opportunity came up to work full time in a subacute rehab nursing home facility, like a 100-bed facility. And I was offered to be the medical director and full-time physician there. And that kind of, was almost perfect for me. I sort of told everyone when I looked back, when I worked with that career coach, and I looked back, one of my favorite all-time jobs I ever had was my senior year of high school. I worked in a local nursing home doing activities.
Okay.
And so I thought, how perfect that I'm winding up working as a physician in a nursing home setting. I loved so many things about it, and it really gave me a chance to do a lot of what I wanted to do in palliative care. So a lot of end-of-life care, just lots of work with patients on goals of care and families and navigating new and difficult diagnoses. And so it was sort of a perfect place for me. And then, it was time for me to graduate, right? And transition.
You outgrew it. I saw you about to say that. And I'm thinking, I think that's very true, because you did love it. This is something that comes up a lot, I think, for people transitioning, that we feel guilty, right? We found the thing that was the perfect thing and we loved it. And then at some point it became not the perfect thing anymore. And I'm the pediatrician, so kids outgrow things all the time and we just expect it, and they're moving to a different phase. But somehow when we become an adult, we're not expected to do that. And especially in medicine, we're really expected, in peds, to keep the same job till the kids are 18 and have generations of those. And yet I don't know that that's actually a realistic way to stay engaged and excited and alive in your career.
Yeah. And then, I, in total, I wound up being there for 10 years. So I spent a decade there. But, I was ready for something. I started looking for different things, and there was some things before I came right around my 55th birthday. It was sort of a present to myself to come to the first retreat. And it was all within the context. It was right at toward the end of COVID, and being in a nursing home and COVID was really stressful. And my mom was in a facility right next door dealing with Alzheimer's, and that was very stressful. We had to move her after my father died, and then she was there. And then she died in April of 21. So I just think there were a lot of things. That first retreat when I came, it was just this really healing space where I felt really welcomed and seen and just supported. It was just this, wonderful space. And, I was starting to reflect on what I want to do about my career, but I think it was almost more of a kind of a renewal. I went back to my work with new eyes and new energy. It sort of did renew me in that work for a period. And then, and I was, then they had started a fellowship here locally, and I was actually working with the fellows. So I, was actually on the faculty. And so as I saw people come through that had done other things, someone who's an ER doc or an anesthesiologist, and I said, oh, well, they're doing this. They're professionals, and they went back and did a fellowship. Maybe I could too. And then I went to the second retreat and really, again, had that chance to pause and step away and really think about things, have coaching and, do my own journaling and just time away and in the midst of a really busy life. And I remember sitting up on top of a mountain where we had free time reading the book that we have, Good Morning, I Love You. And there was a part in there that said, think about, I tried to find it. Anyway, think about where you find that deep, like, aha, like, yes, what is it you really want? And I was like, I still want to do this. I think I had sort of said, well, I should be happy because the job I'm doing is really good. And it's allowing me to do a lot of this work, but I just really allowed myself to voice this dream. And this still, I was like, I sort of said, well, I could have done it. I didn't. Now I've made do with what I'm doing, and it's really good. But I was ready for something different. And it just gave me a chance it was like this big aha that I walked away saying, I really remember having coaching with you and just say, I think I really want to do this, and
I think that's what you said. I think I really want to do this. I think sometimes when we say it out loud, it's really scary.
Yeah.
And I do want to reflect too that I think the reason that you were able to see it, and I see this time and time again, is because when you're in that healing space and you relax,
Yeah.
your parasympathetic nervous system is
Yeah.
activated and you're out of your environment and you're getting coaching and all these other things at the same time.
Right.
Then you're able to see these things clearly that maybe you haven't wanted to see before or haven't been able to see, or they're like hidden in there, but things start to bubble up in that container of safety.
Yeah. No, I think that's very true. There's something really magical about having that space that I had just the time and the sort of spaciousness and support to really decide that, to kind of acknowledge to myself that I wanted to do this. And it was really, we talked about having a conversation after that retreat. And I have to say, it was a very like fragile, like little baby idea at that point. And I don't think it was kind of ready for like live.
Yeah. Yeah.
I came back and I started talking to people about it, and and actually discovered there was another alternative of a career path, a fellowship path for mid-career professionals. And I started pursuing that, and actually started that. And then I had the opportunity to come up to do the traditional fellowship here locally. And that was just such a wonderful opportunity to have that come, because it just gives me the chance, although I loved the other program I was doing through Colorado, but this gives me the chance to have more kind of depth of experience. And really, it also felt more scary because then I'm really stepping out. I left my job, and that's where I think so many things that we talk about in the retreats and that you talk about in the podcast, there's many that I've listened to on repeat. So,
what were the things that allowed you to have the courage to literally quit your job? And as the breadwinner for your family, quit your job. I want to add it because so many people say, well, I can't do it because I'm the breadwinner. Only the people who aren't the breadwinner. Like, what gave you the courage to just say, this is important and I'm going to do it now?
I was really clear, and I got called because anyway, I was really clear. My like internal yes was just so strong. I just knew this is what, and I think I was just working on trusting myself. And I tend to be a more intuitive person for decisions, but really trusting myself. And actually, before the opportunity came, I had another job I was looking into, and became very clear that it wasn't the right fit. And so I turned that down, which was really hard because I was ready to kind of step more into this fully. And also helped that I had done this other program. I started in this other program, and I concurrently applied to the fellowship here. And that year I didn't get one. There's only 2 spots and I didn't get one. So I started the fellowship through Colorado. And all of that was just really affirming that I was in the right place. When I went in, I remember the first time I went in, introduced myself as someone with the palliative care team, and just had this meeting. And I just felt like I'm in the right place. Like, this is where I'm meant to be. This is the next. I just really want, kind of personally and professionally, to go deeper in this area. So.
And I think sometimes I see this a lot also, where we take sort of a baby step or dip a toe in. And so like doing the Colorado program virtually didn't require you to quit your job and didn't require you to move or anything like that. And yet that's like, you get the momentum, you pushed yourself off the top of the mountain to ski down, and then other opportunities, and it becomes more and more clear. So many people think they have to make the right, like, biggest decision right up front. And yet I think that program allowed you to have such clarity that when you had the chance to do the fellowship, it was like, oh, 100%. Yes, I'm definitely going to do this.
Yeah. When they called me, I had to decide, like, well, we have a spot and it's yours if you want it. And I said, well, when do you need to know? They're like, tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I told the program director last night, I said it was the easiest. Yes. I mean, I've rarely made such a big decision so quickly, but it was one of the easiest big decisions I've ever had to make, because I knew that this is what I wanted to do.
Well, and I also think, I mean, you had set yourself up really well to be able
Yeah.
to say yes. At that point, you had done 3 retreats, some coaching, researched it, tried out a program that was sort of what you wanted to do, and
Yeah.
really been trying on palliative care in a nursing home kind of setting for a
Yeah.
long time. So you really did set yourself up for success, and you had
Yeah.
good decision-making tools, right? You've been really
Yeah.
honing those over time.
Yeah.
But, and you'd also, I think, turned on that intuition, and that may have been what the process of the couple years before that were, right? You have to heal to turn on the
Yeah.
intuition and have the
Right.
pause. And the other thing I noticed is you didn't rush. Like sometimes people come to either a retreat or they do coaching, or they just have this idea that they have to get out and they have to rush and they have to solve the problem. And you took your time to be sure that this was the path you really wanted to take. Does that resonate?
Yeah, well, I waited for the right opportunity. I mean, I was
Yeah.
ready for the next chapter, so it was hard
To wait.
to wait, but
Right.
I felt sort of, again, validated that in my waiting that the right opportunity did present itself. So, and had I stayed in the other program, I think I had wonderful mentors, wonderful teachers. It would have been a wonderful community that I'm still connected with. So that's the other thing. I have this bigger, group of colleagues from all of that. So, so that's, but, and it's interesting when you ask sort of what allowed me to do it. And I looked through, recently, right before I quit my job, I took a trip and I looked at through all my journals from the 3 retreats. And it's funny because I have this, like the same things written and underlined and circled, so one of those things is, once you make the decision, you go all in, you make it the right decision. So to like have my own back, to really be, to trust myself, to make the decision. And, I've really been leaning into that. I mean, there was a period after, and I knew what I wanted to do this, but it was, and it was also strategic. It was helpful to go and do a retreat after I left my job this year, because I gave myself a pause. I took 6 weeks off between leaving my job and starting the fellowship. And, at first, my wife and I went, to the Caribbean and took a trip, and it was wonderful, and came back and it's like, oh, I've been on vacation. Now it feels like I should go back to work.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, I'm not going back to work. And there was, even just that I joke, it told me that I'm not ready to retire, because I was like, okay, well, I felt like I should be doing something. And so it was a wonderful time to come and, just reflect and think about how I wanted to enter into this next chapter, and to just take the time to reflect before I moved into this, and also I was thinking about, how I wanted to, also how I left my job, which was really significant to me, to be kind of intentional about how I did that and the ways that I communicated to everyone, because I had put a lot of myself into that space and the relationships and caring for people over those 10 years. So, and then thinking about how I wanted to, to leave that chapter and how I wanted to enter the next. So it was a really nice, pause before I moved on into the next piece.
It's the transitioning well, right?
Yes.
Really thinking about ending well, transitioning well, and beginning well. So what were your learnings just from this most recent retreat, since you are now 10 days into your fellowship, that you're bringing with you, right? The beginning well. What of that are you carrying with you now?
Well, as we talked about when I was there, some of my intentions were to continue to trust myself, to give myself grace. I mean, I was today in a room with the team, with a palliative attending and myself, and I've worked for almost 15 years, so I'm used to feeling pretty competent and knowing how to do everything. And I sort of lost the thread of the conversation a bit, and needed some partnership in leading that, and just saying, I'm new, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So I think that's definitely a piece that I'm, you know, uh, carrying forward, is just being, and just, I think one of the most powerful things I've taken away from the retreats is, um, it does not that it doesn't, but I think my self-talk and my thought patterns, I can recognize and maybe interrupt them.
Yeah.
I think they're overall, I'm kinder to myself. I can also recognize when, I start spinning about something, to go back and say,
Yeah.
okay, it's going to be okay. Um, so, I have a few songs I'm listening to like just reassure myself and, think about things. Um, so yeah, I think
So interesting. Medical culture always makes us think that, like, at the beginning of a fellowship, you should be competent and be able to do it all. And if not, we failed. And yet, that's the whole point of the fellowship, right? What if you showed up there and you were totally competent and could do it all? Then there would be no reason to be there. And yet, our language in our head is to immediately judge ourselves and say,
yeah,
what's wrong with me that I can't do it? And in my experience, because I coach fellows at Stanford as well, the attendings often also expect us to already know it all, right? And it's sort of like, well, that's the whole process of learning um, and being there for a year. That's the whole purpose. And I find that for fellows in particular, they could be attendings. Most of them have been attendings. And so
yeah,
it's like a different learning relationship that is very uncommon in life. Most of us have never been in that learning situation where we could be the attending, maybe not in this specialty, but we've had that
yeah.
independence. And so, yes, absolutely, grace is going to be
Yeah.
needed all
Well, and
around.
and and the attending I was working with, much to her credit, I said, "Hey, thanks." I was kind of losing the thread. She's like, "No, this is really, you're gonna gain more independence as you go along. This is about, us
Yeah.
doing this together." So there was none of that, but I just was very consciously just sort of reassuring myself, "Hey, this is okay. It's new, and uh, I'm gonna learn it." It's a really different position to be in at this point in my life and this point in
Yeah.
my career. So,
And what gave you the courage to say that at this point in your life, in your late 50s, that it's not too late? Because I hear from so many people that well, I can't change now. It's too late.
right. Well, I think one of the things you say in the retreats is, well, think about like 3 years from now. What would you? It's so funny because from my first retreat, I have a thing. Well,
Yeah.
let's see. I'll be 58, and I
Yeah.
have my son will be this age, and whatever. And I'll
Yeah.
say, I wrote in there like I'll be hopefully, exploring other like work opportunities
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
something. So I think if not now, when? This is my opportunity. I got the opportunity, and I have a really just very strong pull to doing this, and I think this is gonna give me a lot of energy and reinvigorate sort of my passion for my work, and to be learning for this year and then take on something new is really exciting. So I think a few years from now, I would regret it if I didn't do it. So,
And I think your path to palliative care, I think very oftentimes people are seeing it as a direction to get away from something and know this is
mm,
something else I could do. And
mhm,
your passion for palliative care and hospice care is clearly a true passion slash calling, and just something that makes you feel very alive. And as I coach, I often say, like, we don't want to run away from something, we want to move towards something. And when
yeah,
I first met you, it's not that you were running away from your job, but you were complete. You felt like you were graduating.
yeah,
But in the beginning, you're really saying, well, I'm graduating, so I need to move away, but what do I need to move towards? And
yeah,
it really is such a beautiful thing when people move towards the thing that they really are passionate about. And it doesn't have to be a fellowship, but sometimes it requires a fellowship to do it and to trust and believe that it's going to work out.
yeah, yeah. I initially thought, oh, well, maybe at this point I can just sort of cut back my work and then I could be, and I
Yeah.
just think I have more that I want to do. And I was, in terms of moving towards something, I yesterday was in a room with our team, and I was really, our attending was leading the conversation. And as I was watching this conversation where this elderly gentleman who had Parkinson's and his family was gathered around him and didn't really think he was going to be able to participate much. And she was able to really draw him out in a beautiful way. He was an artist and all these things about his life. And I was like, this is where I want to be. I just felt like, it was really one of those moments where I felt like, okay, this is what I want to be doing.
And some of it is sort of the magic of just being in the right place. But I'm also wondering, just as I've heard you talk today, a lot of it is your brain being open to not noticing what's wrong and noticing of like, no, this is exactly like you have your own back completely and utterly. This is where I want to be. You're noticing all the things that resonate, not the bad schedule, not the being tired, not the, discomfort of things. You're noticing all the amazing things. So give yourself credit for that lens of focus as well.
Yeah, thank you. No, I think I've taken away so many helpful things. That one of my other favorite podcasts is about, questions, good questions. So, and it's not that I don't ask bad questions, right? But I can catch myself as I'm asking them and say, well, maybe I should think about this a different way. This isn't helpful.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
not.
that's such a beautiful way of saying it, because I think we can hear the podcast on not helpful questions and we can catch our not helpful questions, but you're not upset with yourself. You're not expecting that you'll never ask bad questions. You're simply identifying them non-judgmentally, which is something we talk about, and just either opting out or asking a different question. So that's evolved. I'm going to give you a lot of credit here. Like, that's actually going to make the fellowship experience even better for you. You see that?
Yeah, I think it really will. I think it really will. I'll also acknowledge that for anyone who needs to hear this, that I really hadn't done any yoga when I went to the first retreat.
Yes.
I still need to heavily modify my yoga.
Yes.
So,
Yes. I love it.
but it's that doesn't need to keep someone from not coming.
Yeah.
So
tell folks, I think that sometimes people think like if you go to one retreat, you get it all, because clearly that's not true, right? You've been to 4.
yeah.
And each one I think has felt different. And I mean, in some ways, the underlying curriculum is different, but I think it's a very unique experience to have a similar curriculum. And yet when you come each time, you get tons out of it because you come as a different person. And I'm curious, that's how I frame it. But I think you will frame it a different way as someone who has experienced it that way.
Well, I think that's true. And then the other part of it is this, it's a really unique space where there's this community of women physicians. And I've rarely encountered such a supportive and kind of inspiring group, so, and every group is different. So there's a lot that I've learn from my colleagues there at the retreat. So that's different. I've been at different places, so it's met me and given me a chance again to pause and think about where I wanted to go at these different junctures. So and I think I just I've read portions of the book 4 times over now, and I remember when I was reading, I think last year especially, I was like, oh wow, this is there are things that you just hit you differently at a different time. So I think just taking that and just building on it. Of course, my yoga is getting a little better. So but yeah, it just takes it. But it's interesting as I look through there's a lot of things that that keep coming up. But I think it just and then goes to a different level of internalizing some of the thoughts and
talk about
frameworks.
It as peeling an onion. So you've peeled the outer layer, then you come back the next year, and it's a different onion, but you're also peeling a different layer, right? And your reaction to it, and then you peel another layer.
Yeah.
Does that resonate?
That does. There always seems there's new things to discover, and then new depths to take things to. So, and and again, being at a different place, this has been such a huge part of my path over the past few years, and I'm just really grateful because it's been such a huge part of me. I think, it's just really easy when you're in the midst of a busy life to just sort of make do and keep moving along. And even if it's not a great fit or it's not exactly what you want, or, and to leave that little thing that you've thought about kind of on the shelf and not, taking that down and going, oh, maybe I still, want to do this,
I
it's
think
been
it's
really
so
helpful to
easy
have
in a busy life to ignore the pull
yeah,
toward the calling because your job is good enough. And in fact, your job was not toxic. You liked it. It was a good fit. I found that hard also. Like I actually
yeah,
liked my job. I liked taking care of patients. I wasn't really burnt out. I
yeah,
just felt like, the candle was ready to be relit in some other space. But
yeah.
and I find for a lot of people that's a spot where we do get stuck because it's hard. Things aren't bad enough to make a change. And
Hmm.
yet, if you want to live your, best, what most wild and precious life, you do
Yeah,
have to like let go of good for something great.
yeah, yeah. Well, and it was good, and I could do some of this work, but I really wanted to be able to kind of go all in and really have that, depth of experience. Because as I said to folks, I did that work in my last job, but in addition to lots of other stuff, right? I was managing their blood pressure and diabetes and admitting people and discharging people and
Yeah.
just doing lots of other things in addition to that. And I really wanted to have the opportunity, just really, yeah, professionally but also personally, to just go deeper in this area. And so this is giving me that chance.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if you could reflect on the other thought is there's a group of people like you who comes for their annual tune-up as like a retreat.
mhm,
And I think, some people do coaching ongoing, and for some people, this sort of pulling out of your life is really the magical piece at a not, a somewhat regular interval where you have a reflection space. Do you want to
yeah.
talk about why that has worked for you?
Well, I think it's been really just a lovely opportunity to step away. Things are busy. Have a teenager in the house, and with work and that, and dog and cat. It's just it's just a lot going on. So, and I've usually incorporated a few extra days so I can really have just you know a real reset. And it's just the retreat, both places, you just have created a really wonderful, supportive, and just, you know, it's fun, and it's relaxing, and it's supportive, and in so many different ways, with the coaching, the yoga, Mark's delicious food. I mean, it's all just so nurturing and supportive. And so yeah, it's hard for me to recreate that in the midst of my busy life. So
I have
it's
another question for you. You just mentioned this, and this is something that I wish more people would do. You always create space either at the beginning or the end of your retreat. So you're not rushing in from life and rushing back to life. Do you have thoughts on whether I think you've done it both ways, more helpful to do it at the beginning or at the end, or would you do both? Or
for me, it's definitely better to have a few days before so that I really arrive relaxed and reset. And it's been a great opportunity to explore a little bit of California,
yeah,
given that
yeah.
I'm on the East Coast. So I've loved that. So no, and I've been able to reconnect with some people from other retreats that I've been on. So this last one, I got together with a friend from the first retreat that I did, which was really lovely.
You have actually kept up with quite a few people from retreats, and do you want to share a little bit about that? Because I do think also many of us as women doctors, we feel really isolated, and
Mhm.
and so I think this retreat community for you has really become a community and a source of support.
Yeah, it's been really nice. I mean, it's just such a, I think, the people that come are really there to support each other. And, I don't think you always find that, we don't always create spaces. It's hard in the hospital in the midst of training.
Yeah.
So, it was an unexpected, sort of, gift of the retreats and of that space, to have. And just with some pretty, amazing women. I just feel really inspired, some of the people that I've been with, and it's been really fun. As I say, I hadn't really anticipated that.
What I love watching is the people who come are really incredible people. And I think in our medical space, it would be easy to drop into that sort of compare and despair, and well, they do this and that. And I do not see that at the retreats at all. Everyone shifts into this supportive, like the compare and despair just falls away, and that sense of belonging and community grows. That's my view, but I know your view might be different. So interesting to touch on. And the other thing that came up as you were saying that, I think also the follow-up and the continued connections, they don't seem to take much effort. Like they seem to sort of happen, sometimes we really have to work hard to stay connected. And yet, at least how I've watched you, it's like when you're in that space, it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's just a really unique opportunity to forge some connections. And I've been fortunate to maintain connections with some of these amazing women. And that's been really lovely to sort of broaden my community with that. I think there's a lot of safety in the space, and it's just, very intentionally created as with community, and it's a small group. So it's not, you're not in some big, hotel space, or, it's.
Well, I think that's very unusual. I don't know any other space where you get 7 women doctors together.
Yeah.
For a few days who don't know each other and really do some deep inner work. Maybe there are other spaces, but I don't know of them.
And I think every time I've come, I think people are incredibly honest and supportive, and that's really been a wonderful part for me. That's helped me with some things that, in my own life, to hear how other physicians, because I think as physicians, there's sometimes a thought that, well, we should be able to manage these challenges of parenting, or, we should know how to do these things. And so to be with other physicians who say, well, actually, we've had this challenge, and it's like, okay, I'm not the only one. That's, that's really been a supportive and sort of healing piece of being part of the retreats.
Yeah, I love it. Anything that you just want to add at the end on any topic, either for people who sort of have found themselves in a space where they, I'm with you, who felt like I should be happy, and I had all the things that I thought I wanted, and yet there was some other pull. So to that person, or to any sort of reflection on the retreat, like if people, your thoughts as to nudge them forth as someone who's not me. I of course think everyone should come because I love it and I'm passionate about it, but.
Well, I think it is wonderful what you've created. And so, I think there's a lot, before I went the first time, I think I listened to some podcasts, I did some yoga. I think you have a lot of material out there that's available for free. So I always encourage people, just access that. I accessed that, and I just felt like this feels like a fit, to me. This feels like something that will be supportive and comfortable. And so I think there's, it's not like you have to guess. You can sort of get a sense of what that's like. So I think, I would strongly, anyone thinking about, I see sometimes people comment, well, I'm thinking about it. How do we get the information? It's just plan it. I'm so glad I did. It's made such a huge impact in my life. I'm just full of so much gratitude for, starting this new chapter is really a dream come true for me. And I've wanted to do this for over 20 years, and here I am. And I really, this has been such a huge part of what allowed me to make this happen. Gave me the space to kind of open this dream and think about it, and gave me kind of the tools to move forward with it. And I guess to whether someone's thinking about some kind of change, it's clearly, it's not too late. It's like you can do something different, and you can learn and grow. And so I'm just really grateful that I found you, and that I found the retreats. It's just been such a helpful part of my journey. So thank you.
Yeah, my absolute pleasure. And I want to say that part of why I love doing this work is to watch people go and do these things. And
Yeah.
some people might see your face, but most people listen to the podcast, and you are just lit up and shining, even after a full week of work as a fellow. And it just brings me such joy to watch people go and live their dream. And I think we sometimes get distracted. I'm a primary care doc, and we get distracted and life gets in the way. And all of a sudden we wake up one day and we're like, but this is my passion. This is what I really want to do. And I hope that Karen's story inspires you. And I'm going to watch her all year smiling inside. And I also, we were talking at the beginning of this podcast, my aging parents have had a number of challenges this week. And I have actually just reached out to a palliative care doc in my community to come support me. And so I also feel like, and them, support all of us. And I'm actually, I'm going to connect you to her, because I think as you move forward, there's beautiful things ahead. But just
That'd
this
be
idea
wonderful.
that we need more and more humans out there doing this important work, and humans who are so passionate about it and moving towards it. It will make the world a better place. So I am honored to watch your journey and be a part of it. And I cannot wait to see where you are even a year from now. I'm watching you as I remember my journey of sort of making the shift. And like, once you start, like, things just shift and amazingness is ahead.
Well, and as I've told you, your journey is also inspirational, because, right, I was there at Sagrada when I remember you saying, you and Mark, well, we're kind of looking for a place. We might want to get a place. And so, and now to have done 2 retreats with you in your new place at Nicasio, it's really pretty magical to watch what you've, what you've brought into the world, and so.
And I think that's the power of this work, right? We can bring into the world things that we never thought possible, never imagined, or maybe there were a dream in there that was sort of squashed down while life got in the way. And it can allow that to bubble up and allow each of us to bring more amazing things to all the other people in the world. So thank you so much for joining me. This was super fun conversation.
Oh, thank you.
We will all continue to cheer you on from the sidelines.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening. If our message resonates, we'd love to connect further. Join us for coaching, mindfulness experiences, workshops, and retreats. Invite us to speak at your institution or conference. When you work with us, you don't just consume information, you create real change. Find Mi Chang Liang at Awakened Breath and Jessie Mahoney at Pause and Presence.
Welcome to today's mindful moment, a moment to notice if there's any stirring or any desires within that you may have not attended to. If it's safe for you to do so, close your eyes, place your feet on the ground, pause and notice where you are in the world in this moment. Reconnect to your breath. And if possible, bring a hand to heart and another hand atop. And in this space, with eyes closed, feet on the ground, seat on the chair, breathing, notice if inside you there is a gnawing, something in there, a baby waiting to be birthed, some desire in there, that is worthy of noticing. Not because you need to move forward, not because you need to do it, but just simply allowing yourself to see it, to honor it, to notice it. Taking a few more intentional breaths here. Just once again, allowing yourself to see your inner desires, inner wishes, inner dreams, inner longings. Maybe all you can connect with is some discontent, or maybe there's nothing there. Maybe you're exactly where you want to be in this moment. Allow yourself to notice all of those thoughts and feelings as you breathe. Notice your chest rise on the inhale and fall on the exhale. Once again, rise on the inhale and fall on the exhale. And taking whatever you've learned and tucking it behind your heart. If there's a longing or a desire in there that you haven't connected with, let yourself see it. If by chance you have noticed that you are where you want to be right now, that you feel content, that there's nowhere else you'd rather be, allow that also to be true. There's no need to long for things. We sometimes think we have to. Let that be, and let yourself tuck this peace and contentment in the moment into that spot behind your heart. And if you have noticed a desire or a dream, allow yourself to take your time. No rush. Simply just let it be seen for today. No need to jump into action or move quickly. Allow it to unfold as it is meant to. Breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Enjoy 2 more deep breaths here. Thank you all so much for practicing with me today. May you all be well, and may you all attend and notice your deepest inner longings. When you feel ready, you can open your eyes and lower your hands. Have an amazing day.